What's up, guys? Marko here from the Vaticans, and welcome to this great video, something that I wanted to do for a very long time. There's a few videos out there that compare these two guitars, but I always thought it was a little bit sterile, and I wanted to experience this for myself and take you along with me on this journey. Now, this is going to be a very long video. There are timestamps below the description of the video, so you can kind of jump around as you see fit. And which brings me to the next point, because I do want to mention a few things here, as most likely this will result in a lot of comments, debates, opinions, etc., etc. And that's exactly the point of this video. That's why I'm calling it the ultimate review. What are we doing today? Well, actually, what are we going to do over the next literally 5 days? Well, in about 24 hours, I have two guitars arriving. One is a $7,000 Gibson Les Paul Custom Shop 1959 reissue, 2023 model. And a few hours later, FedEx should drop off a Epiphone 1959 reissue, as they call it, as well. Now, also what's going to make this video a little bit more current is, as you know, if you play Epiphone, Epiphone was one of the first, well, the first real electric guitar I ever owned 30 years ago. Epiphone has really stepped up their game. The new leadership there, and I talked to the guys that run it a few years ago at NAMM. They're really doing some top quality stuff. And this is not about, I want to be very clear about this. This is not about which one is better. That's not what this is about. This is about taking you from the moment it arrives at the front door to unboxing it, analyzing it. How does it feel? How is it living with it for a few days? Because impressions change after the honeymoon stage wears off. What's the price to value ratio? What's the craftsmanship? Is a $7,000 Les Paul really necessary? Is it really worth 7 times more? Remember, the Epiphone is $990. The Gibson Les Paul, $6,800. Both guitars before tax, and in Europe, of course, even more. I have great admiration for the Gibson Custom Shop. I always treated them separate versus the regular shop. There's no confusion that nowadays I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship. I think they're putting out a lot of stuff that's way overpriced, a lot of stuff that's mislabeled. The Slash AFD, which is basically just the 50s model, the Greeny model they just released for $3,200, which really has nothing to do with Greeny, which is just basically a 50s faded. But again, not going to get into that. We're going to take the Custom Shop and compare it versus the Epiphone 1959. So, and both being, really the top of the line guitars that they offer. Even the cats are getting excited. And then, my friends, we're going to take it through every sound test possible. I'm going to do this over a 5-day span to really see what it is to live like with both of these guitars and finally put a lot of stuff to rest, because there seems to be a lot of brotherly passion between the two, Listen, Toyota owns Lexus. I understand that Lexus is a little bit more exclusive than, Toyota. Honda owns Acura. Acura is supposed to be a little bit more exclusive. Ferrari owns Maserati and Ferrari. Of course, Ferrari is supposed to be a little bit more high-end than a Maserati. But that being said, remember that a lot of the same people that built the Ferrari are also involved in the Maserati. And I'm really after discovering what, not only the price to value ratio, but is a guitar really worth 7 times more than another guitar? Now, here's the interesting thing. I haven't played an Epiphone in 30 years, since the one that I've owned as a teenager, very young teenager. Well, not even, I was like 12, I think, when I got my first electric guitar. So this is going to be really interesting. But yeah, enjoy this. Remember, there's timestamps below. And literally, I will pick this up tomorrow, and we will take them as they arrive, unbox them, compare them, analyze them, and then, see a final verdict, because I'm very passionate about guitar. I know you Epiphone owners are very passionate. I know you Gibson owners are very passionate. But I really want to see how bad or how good is the difference between the two. But before we do that, let's jump in and take advantage of the next 24 hours that we have, because I think that a lot of the issues that I discover out there is that people aren't quite educated about really the differences between the two. So let's go online and actually see what it is that we are going to do today. Okay, first and foremost, let's get educated. There's a lot of comments I'm reading, people saying stuff that just isn't really true, okay? So let's start here in the Gibson corner. 1959, what comes up? Well, look at this. Gibson Epiphone 1959. Now, for you who don't know, and I'm going to put this in order of price, low to high, they started doing these Murphy aged custom shops. Now, I personally, I want to beat up and age my own guitar, but again, to each their own. And then it goes up from there to 71 if you want one that's a little bit light aged, which is kind of, I don't know, ridiculous. And then it goes, you know, to 81 if you want it medium aged, and then it freaking goes berserk, you know, to $10,000 if you want it heavy aged. And at that point, it kind of looks like, you know, like this. Again, to each their own. However, and then of course, you know, if you want the greeny experience, you got to give Gibson $20,000. Not gonna get into that because otherwise we'll be here for 5 hours. But it's obviously a bad joke, you know. We're gonna click on the $6,700 guitar. They only have one left in stock. They obviously do sell. Listen, make no mistake, they're selling. Whatever Sweetwater gets, it's sold the next day. This morning there was 6 of them, and now there's one left. You know, and we have one coming. Obviously, this is you know, considered the one-on-one replica. They are made in the Murphy lab. They don't have any aging outside of it being a VOS, which stands for Vintage Original Spec. But what we will do real quick is go to the spec sheet, and then we'll go to the Epiphone one, and then we'll actually compare it, because there are some major differences. Solid body 59, lightweight mahogany. So they truly source this wood in an extraordinary manner. And I can tell you from experience, it is incredible mahogany and maple, much different than on the standard Gibsons made in the regular shop. And remember, these guitars are lighter. If you buy a regular standard, they're pushing 10 pounds, but these are actually coming around 8 and change. Just tells you the wood that they source for this has really aged. The dirty lemon finish is only something you can get in the custom shop. Set neck, 12-inch radius, Indian rosewood, okay. Some made to measures are Brazilian. That, however, would not be period correct. So we're with Indian rosewood, actually really nice ones. So they make sure you get really, really, well, not so much on this one. All the other ones were really, really dark that I saw this morning. And I usually like to check once a day what they have in stock, because I'm such a 59 fan anyway, with respect to the craftsmanship, if you will. Cellulose nitrate trapezoid inlays, of course. We have medium jumbo, which is again period correct. Obviously, you all know it's 24.75, not with an nylon on the 59. And then, of course, we have an ABR1 on these, Clusen single line. And then, of course, these are, obviously, we don't have to argue about this. The custom Bucker 2s and 3s are truly spectacular pickups. And they come with 10 to 46. Now, these are made with hide glue. Actually, surprised doesn't mention that here. However, I'm sure in the spec sheet, mahogany with beautiful figure maple, the Indian rosewood, include vintage style Clusens. We obviously know that. Everything is really replicated. 500K pots, hand wired, obviously. PIO, paper in oil capacitors. They changed that from Bumblebees a few years ago to now actually be paper in oil, which does kind of make it a little bit different. I did compare it, and of course these are unpotted pickups, which it doesn't say here, but they're unpotted. Remember that, so you get a little bit more hum out there. But again, if you want that kind of raw and truly organic 59 sound, you're going to get it from this. I was very lucky to play several original 59s, 58s, 57s, etc. from friends that own these very expensive guitars. and the custom shop does a great job of recreating that. Well, there you go. Hide glue set neck with long tenon. So that's very important because that takes extra time for dialing in, and obviously, again, we're back to making it period correct. So hide glue, which is animal glue really, and the long tenon, which make this very, very accurate. Vintage original sheen finish package, light matte, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So the hardware is obviously VOS, it's aged. So anyway, those are kind of the specs, and we'll put them next to the Epiphone in a second. But for now, let's jump over to the Epiphone. And again, if we go here and we go to 1959, of course the Epiphone comes right up, and we're gonna click here, 1959. By the way, just so we're clear, if you go here and you go to price, high to low, so the most expensive Les Paul Epiphone you can get is $999. Now, if you type in just Epiphone here, and just humor me for a second, and we type in Epiphone, and click the return button, and now we go to most expensivest to cheapest. Look at this. We have Epiphones for $4,500. Okay, so we have a where's the casino? Oh, there it is, casino right there. So there's an Epiphone, guys, that's $3,500. So a lot of you Epiphone guys, including myself, sometimes say, the price, Gibson snob, price this and that. Just so we're absolutely clear here, there's $4,000, $3,500 Epiphones. There's freaking $5,000 with tax Epiphones. So make no mistake, they make some high-end stuff, and then if you get to the, this is the Matt Heafy, but if you get to like the Ubacadas or whatever, the 355s, you're still above $1,000. So just keep that in mind. Epiphones aren't necessarily, or don't have to be cheap here, just so we're on the same page. But again, we go to 1959, and we're going to click 1959, but Epiphone. Here we go, Epiphone Les Paul, because we're comparing the two most exclusive, guitars ever made with respect to, what they call the Holy Grail. All right, here we go. Looks wonderful. Again, a few years ago, Epiphone decided to really step it up, to change the headstock shape. They really, 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 changed the game for the better. And they had to, because a lot of the other stuff, the competition was getting stiff. And obviously, this Epiphone has nothing to do with the Epiphone from 7-8 years ago, let alone from 1994 when I bought my first one. But even back then, they were beautiful. All right, so let's kind of get a little feel here, because what's so great is that I'm discovering this in real time too. Premier Tone Woods. Okay, well, we'll get to the spec sheet. Gibson pickups. Okay, so right off the bat, this is a huge, huge difference, because if I understand this correctly, and I'm going to jump ahead, they're actually using Gibson. Yeah, they are. Gibson Burstbucker Humbucker. Okay, so this is huge. For you who don't know, that is very recent. Epiphone always had their own pickups, and in all honesty, they were kind of not that good. And so now they're using an actual Gibson Burstbucker, and so that's obviously a big, big, big upgrade versus some of the older stuff that they used, some of the like kind of very low-end pickups. Afterbeat wired into a set of Mallory 150 polyester film caps. So you know what? Let's look it up. I have no idea what we're doing. I'm usually good with this wiring stuff and know them all, but Mallory. Okay, so they're kind of interesting. All right. They're $1.25. And caps obviously are cheap, period. They don't have to be expensive, but okay, so you have different. Okay, so they're probably in the $1 to $4 range. Non-inductive, of course, here for project guitars caps. Okay, all right. Okay, well, hey, we'll see when we plug it in. Mallory type 150 film caps, CTS pots, and switch off toggle and jack to supply years of approval. All right, so VOS-like aged finish. So it does come with this kind of VOS aging. And if we look at the actual guitar that they have in stock, If we click on the body, it kind of looks really nice. VOS is supposed to be in between satin and glossy for you guys who don't know. So it's a very distinctive look, and pictures and videos usually don't do it justice unless you truly kind of have see one of these in person. American-made Gibson USA burst bucker pickup. So that is a good deal right here. Figure AAA maple. You know, I don't know about that. Gibson lately, well, not lately, for 2 years now, is calling a lot of stuff AAA that really isn't. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So if we go here and open another tab, all right. And now I'm going to click in stock. They have 25 guitars in stock. Okay, here we go. This is definitely supposed to be AAA, and I can tell you this is nowhere close to AAA. So let's see here. We're going to go to the spec sheet. And I'm pointing this out on purpose because, listen, you're spending your very hard-earned money. Okay, this is AA. This ain't no AA. This is a freaking single A. Okay, come on, guys. Really? This is a AA. This is called a fucking plain top Gibson. Okay, so careful. They've become very, very shameless with their grading of wood. And I'm gonna call them right out on it. But back to medium C. Okay, so we'll compare that here in a second. Aged gloss finish is reminiscent of Gibson VOS finish, so of course different kind of finish. Let's go to the spec sheet. But again, important thing to point out here. 18.1. So we have Epiphone Vintage Deluxe tuner. So a little bit different now, obviously, than, you know, original Clousons. I get that. Solid body, AAA, a flamed a maple. Is this really AAA? I would. Okay. And now the big question becomes: is this a cap that they use now, or a laminate top? Okay, because remember, a laminate is a 1 millimeter. It's like paper thin, and a cap is slightly in between an actual top and the thickness of, you know, the maple top. So Indian laurel, how is that different from Indian rosewood? Well, let's find out. Google knows it all. Ficus microcarpa is also known as Chinese banyan malign. Got it. Okay, so Chinese wood, Asian, the Carolina. Well, let me guess. It is most likely made in China. And we click here, and here we go. Handcraft. Oh, interesting. So for you who don't know, it used to just say, well, for one, there were a lot of, for many years, built in Indonesia, and then Epiphone was made in Korea. And some of them were very, very hit and miss. And then a lot of them said made in China. So it's very interesting that they're saying handcrafted in China. That's interesting. Interesting. So they're handcrafted. They're not made, but they're handcrafted. Is there a difference? Is there a difference? All right, interesting. We're going to go back to the spec sheet. And we have, so Indian laurel, fancy name for Chinese rosewood. Obviously, since they're made in China, they're going to use Chinese rosewood rather than Gibson sending, obviously, rosewood over there. Perloid, trapezoids, 22 medium jumbo, 24/7. I think the nut was a little bit different. We'll get to that in a second. Graph Tech versus nylon on the 59. So there's a difference right there. And remember, guys, we're not trying to have a $999 guitar live up to a $7,000 guitar. We're talking experiencing both of these wonderful instruments so that as an educational thing and actually see eventually how they relate in real life. Okay, and this comes with 1046s as well. All right, guys, now we have both open next to each other. This is a cool way to kind of get educated and compare and actually see what the differences are. Remember, the difference being, you know, $6,000. The body type, of course, on both is solid body, 59 Les Paul, lightweight mahogany versus mahogany. Funny enough, if we go back, it does give us weight. So if we look at this one is 815, okay? If we look at the custom shop, the weight is 814. Wow. So that is, well, that could be also due to another reason. Remember, there's more wood here and a thicker, way thicker top. So the other one is probably a cap and a laminate. So the fact that's not necessarily a thing against the Les Paul, because remember that it's much harder to make more wood lighter than a thin laminate. So especially given the fact that you have a really thick maple top on these, right? Versus most likely what is a cap or a laminate, which is like literally like a millimeter thin, if not less, like that thin, like paper thin. So the weight, I'm not going to ding the Gibson just yet. Two-piece figured maple, a flamed maple. Obviously, the Epiphone should be two-piece as well. And again, they don't mention that, but clearly it should be a two-piece, right? So if we look here, it appears to be a two-piece. But remember, that could be simulated if it's an actual laminate. It could be printed that way. So we don't know that yet until we actually see the physical guitar, and it's not being disclosed here. We have, of course, a very authentic 59 neck, and here we have a rounded medium C. So, of course, the Epiphone isn't going to be scanned in, and not all this time is going to be spent hand adjusting to the authenticity of a 59 guitar. Now, that being said, though, keep in mind that that doesn't necessarily make a guitar neck better or worse. You know, the medium C is just as great of a neck as a 59, but of course the custom shop is a slave to keeping it very period authentic. Set neck on both, which is really amazing for a $900 guitar. Radius 12 on both. Indian rosewood, of course, versus Indian laurel, which is really Chinese wood. We have cellulose nitrate, of course, on the fingerboard inlay. Here we have perloid. That's going to be a given, cost saving here. Both have medium jumbo, 24/7, and we, of course, have a big difference on the nut width, which is kind of weird. Not sure why they went 9.2. I think that they went 9.2 because all the other ones are probably 9.2, so it's a little bit easier, you know, to keep production faster than have one single model 87. So remember, and that's a big difference. The nut width can definitely make a big difference. We have real nylon on the nut material, Graphtec new bone, so probably, I assume, a high-end plastic. Nickel-plated ABR1, lock-tone pneumatic bridge with stop bar tailpiece. So what does that mean? So if you look at these two, of course you have an authentic ABR1, which is right here. And then on the Epiphone, you have like a Tune-O-Matic, which functions a little bit different. But at the end of the day, again, we're stuck to being period correct versus, you know, a guitar that's made a little bit more freely. Cluson, of course, we're going to have Clusons on this. Vintage Lux 18:1 ratio. Decent tuners, something you might want to consider upgrading. And of course, here being the big difference. Well, that's now a question. Is it really a big difference or not? Because, you know, the burst buckers are actually really good pickup. You know, of course, the custom bucker is no joke. So yeah, listen. All right. I mean, these specs, I would love to hear your thoughts, but at the end of the day, you're also talking labor cost. But remember, this guitar is supposed to simulate a 59, and then at the end of the day, you know, spending $1,000 on a guitar isn't necessarily cheap either. So it'll be very interesting to see how this thing looks in person, how the rosewood feels, and more importantly, what I'm really excited about now, or I should say excited to find out, is the handcrafted in China thing. You know, there's another difference. Look at that. The binding isn't rolled over the frets like it is on the Gibson. And of course, that's a given. That wasn't gonna happen, you know what I mean? So because that takes a lot of time. For you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you look here, of course, the binding is actually rolled over the fret. You know, I'll zoom in a little bit. And actually less on these, on the modern Les Pauls, the binding is actually thicker. So one dead giveaway for it being a 59 is that it's thinner in 59. Very, very interesting. So what I'm excited to find out is really the handcrafted thing, because I gotta tell you one thing, this thing looks really freaking good quality for a $1,000 guitar. I mean, unless this thing feels cheap or sounds cheap, I gotta tell you right now, I mean, look at this great case you're getting for $1,000, man. I mean, this is going to be hard to beat on value. Now we sit back and wait for it to arrive. We have our first delivery. Always nice when FedEx comes to the house. Right, Archie? What do you say? He says nothing. He's so cute. I guess that will solve the issue of which guitar we will be unboxing first. So let's get this thing inside. I'll show you a behind the scenes look as well. Nothing fancy to see. Of course, unless you have cats, because they love boxes. But just a big box that says fragile on it, which we appreciate. Let's take out the first layer. And again, we want to take you from receiving this thing all the way to unboxing and living with it. So let's see what the experience is when you spend $7,000. The custom shop guitars are indeed double boxed. Remember the greenie that we reviewed a week back just comes in this actual single box and is packed a little bit differently. Obviously, they're trying to protect a $7,000 guitar. Nothing worse than having a neck break on these during shipping. 1959 Les Paul Standard Reissue VOS. All right, Dirty Lemon, our favorite. So let's open the box and we'll keep going. And so here we are, as always in real time. There was some nice extra padding on the top and the bottom in the main box. And here we are. What does it say here? The certificate of authenticity for this instrument is enclosed in the pocket of the case. Beautiful vintage case, of course, period correct. And what we're going to do now is turn this beautiful light on here so we get, turn that on here. Excuse me, the other way. There you go. Because there's nothing worse than filming in a dark setting. So let's see what we got. One latch. Oh, that's right. These don't have it on the side. Two latches. Three latches. I think I'm more excited about the smell of the inside of the case than the guitar itself. And for you guys who've owned the Gibson, I think you know what I'm talking about. And okay, everything looks good. Let's see what we got. All right. Back up a little bit and put the light a little bit closer. The suspense, I know, the suspense, the suspense. Let's see what we got. Before we do anything, let's smell the case. Let's see. Oh yeah, no, it is that good smell. All right, let's see here. You know what? Let me turn the case a little bit left and right and kind of see. We'll start here at the neck. If you don't know, a few years ago they didn't have these little pouches here. In 2019, when I bought my one of my 59 reissues, they didn't have that. They also didn't have that cutout. They made the cases a little bit more period correct. They also put this under pouch in. All that wasn't there, so they kind of adjusted it a little bit. The case quality looks perfect. We have our neck. Fretboard looks great. This is what I was talking about. You see there's the binding that goes over the frets that the Epiphone wouldn't have. And then we get to kind of the wood itself. And the cross grain just appears to be, oh my God, the cats are going crazy, I'm sorry. The cross grain just looks incredible. As a fan of wood, as someone who's luthier inclined, it's just such a joy to see this. It's like being into classic cars and seeing a, you know, classic car of high value or craftsmanship. But if you look here, just the flexed cross grain. The flame I can care less about. Like I said, I just wanted to look good, feel good. Zoom in, make it sharper for you. This is not wood that was chosen by accident, so there you It's really, really, really good stuff. Aged hardware, of course. Let's turn the guitar around a little bit. And what I'll do is I'm going to rotate it this way a little bit. And here you can really kind of see what I'm talking about. I'm going to put it a little bit more under the light for you. So right here. This is just really good stuff. I'll try to keep it in focus for you. So I did confirm, in fact, that on the Epiphone, this would be a veneer. And obviously one of the main differences in price, besides, of course, a lot of factors such as, you know, labor cost, being made in the USA, etc., etc. This is an actual thick maple top, right? For you who don't know. So you see the thickness of the binding, which on the Epiphone will be painted on here. Of course, this is an actual binding that they do, and it takes time to, you know, press it and glue it, etc., etc. That's the thickness of the actual maple wood top. And of course, that will affect exclusivity, beauty, time to do it, sourcing, cost, sound, resonance, if you will, all those little things. It's not one thing. It's like a Rolex watch. It's the sum of all things combined that make for the whole kind of experience. And again, I just keep coming back to the wood because, you know, it's interesting. It's a really nice book match, and yet a little bit unique in its own way. So I think this guitar will almost look better once it's really, really kind of beaten into the ground and played. And what I'm going to do is rotate the light a little bit over here so we can get into the other side of the guitar. Excuse me while I move. I'm actually going to take it out. So, and it's incredible how light it feels right off the bat. So, you know, if you own like a custom right there, or an 80s, like an 88, which I think is the best year ever for Les Paul, or one of the best years ever. These are like, you know, 25 pounds in weight. Like, this thing is like 11, and this thing right here is 10 and change. And this thing right here, right off the bat, feels like 7. It feels super light, you know. But let's put the guitar away for just a second. And again, I don't want to interrupt the video, so I'll keep going in real time. Another thing they changed is the padding here, which is really nice. Again, the smell is just awesome. You have this badge now here. It says, built like a fortress, lifting case, of course. Interesting to see where they make them now. So it used to be Canada, then Costa Rica. You open the pouch. We have our Sweetwater card. And then authentic paperwork, as if you bought the guitar in '59, which is kind of really cool. So you have your kind of dealer info, vintage tone circuit, another outstanding, the Gibson Les Paul model, greater tonal range, more blah, 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 blah. You have, of course, your keys. You have a nice kind of Gibson emblem for social media. And, of course, your vintage reissue strings to make them period correct. We'll close that. And, of course, you have your inspection card, which is really, really nice. This guitar was completed in end of March. So it took about a month to get it to Sweetwater custom shop. Of course, you can scan that and kind of, again, get more info online. Social media advertising, we'll put that here. We don't care. We have a, oh, that was probably for the keys. So you have your back plate, because these, of course, have the custom logo on there, and we'll get to that in a second. Man, this feels really nice. What else do we have here? Interesting. This, I don't remember on all the other guitars. Professional attention. This guitar has been adjusted for professional usage, light pick action, which enables the guitarist to fully develop and use this technique. Okay, whatever. Mr. Dealer. This is all kind of authentic. Oh, that's right. Yeah, for you don't know. There's this famous 59 in the Beauty of the Burst that had the tag hanging. And of course, it was exposed to the sunlight through the window. And so it kind of developed a spot because these do kind of change color in direct sunlight. They become really more, actually like the greenie. Instructions for the Tune-O-Matic bridge. It's really cool stuff, all new stuff that they include. Humbucking, pickup adjustments. Yeah, they didn't have that before, so it's kind of cool. A little bit more period correct. And about the Murphy Lab. Murphy Lab instruments use lacquer developed from the original 50s formula for a truly vintage look and feel. Again, that's what you want. The idea is to, you know, if you can't afford $598,000 for a real 59, this is the closest you'll get. And it is beautiful to recreate those monumental kind of journeys back in time. And that's really what you're paying for. And of course, the craftsmanship, et cetera, but we'll get into that. Designed in Nashville and Costa Rica. Yeah. So the greenie case for the USA model that we reviewed a week ago was made in Canada. This, however, is made in Costa Rica. So feels really good. Again, I can't get over that Gibson smell. And of course, here's your pickup switch. Now we'll put that here because we will need that, of course. And then we have our beautiful booklet, Gibson Custom, and, you know, just your COA with a nice little note to, of course, identify the instrument. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the case aside and we're going to inspect the guitar a little bit more. Here's another great shot. And, you know, it's sad because the video really doesn't do it justice, especially with respect to the wood and the grains and just the depth that this wood has. I mean, it is absolutely to die for. And even though it kind of, if you look at the book match, it's unique, but it works. It works. You know, that thin finish kind of works. It's not as extreme in real life as it appears to be on the video, but it's subtle enough. It's a little bit more extreme than maybe an original 59 would be, but it works. And that's what that was. There was another tip included. So you actually have the vintage color if you want, and the original if you want to age it yourself. You know, again, I might actually expose this guitar to a little bit of sunlight over time to kind of get a little bit more of a greeny look out of it. But the aging is absolutely fantastic. If you look at just the finish of the set neck, the way it meshes with the body. This one actually, even though it's a VOS, I've owned 59s that actually came a little bit with more aged hardware, but again, it's delicate. You know, otherwise I get like a lightly aged. I want to age and beat this thing into the ground myself. So if we go to the side here now, you can just absolutely tell right off the bat if you know anything about kind of wood selection. If you just look at the cross grains, just how incredible of a piece of mahogany this is. I mean, as somebody who's, you know, when I was at Berkeley, somebody who has worked in luthier shops and learned about wood and craftsmanship. I'm not an expert, but I have a good basic understanding of it. You know, you can just tell the absolute insanity of the craftsmanship and the wood selection. And I'm just stunned because, you know, I've owned so many of these. I've played original 59s and 60s and 58s, but this is just, look at that. I mean, you know, you don't have to be a fan of a brand or not, or whatever, but this is just really, really nice stuff, man. Of course, a one piece. Again, I'll try to keep it in zoom for you. I'm going to bring the light a little bit closer because, and even if you turn the light away, I mean, just look at that. I mean, this is just to die for. And, you know, of course, I'll put the light back on just for filming purposes. The fit and finish is just absolutely incredible. And I'll hold it here for you so you can kind of see. You know, you can clearly tell one is made at a time. And then the quarter saw neck, of course. And again, it's just absolutely to die for. This is really technically not period correct because there shouldn't be a number after the 9. There was always a space. And some of the reissues have the space there and some don't. If you're wondering about the discoloration, that's normal because those are the ears, as they're called, that are attached. And in this case, it's not just, you know, it's not to cheap out. It's because that's how they were made. You see, they cut the blank here. And then they take the remaining parts, glue that on, and then they cut it out. Because otherwise, you would have to cut all the way to here, and you would waste a lot of wood. That's a cost-saving measure that's been used to this day. Unless, of course, you have a kind of strat neck. That is a one piece. But that maple neck will be way, way cheaper anyway. So it wouldn't be near the quality of this. And just again, just the wood, the grains, the density, the aged. I lift this guitar up, it literally feels like it's 6 pounds. I mean, it is insane how light this guitar is. And I'm purposely not going to take the light away a little bit. I want to show you just a little bit more in kind of, you know, the real life scenario a little bit more. Look at that. The craftsmanship is absolutely amazing. The wood choice is gorgeous. Again, I'm just fascinated by, and you can tell how smooth it is with respect to that BOS aged finish. I'm not that big fan of very gloss. That's why the Les Paul Custom I really have to wear in. You got this beautifully aged hardware. So just good stuff. And I'll put the light a little bit back on here. It's just beautiful. The frets are perfect. The neck is perfect. The finish is perfect. The craftsmanship is perfect. This Indian rosewood is to die for. It appears brighter on the video right now because I have 4,000 nits of light blasting it. But again, just look at this. Look at, there you go. I mean, there's your shot. Look at that. I mean, just enjoy this for a second. And as I go, because I'm moving, get that 3D. I'm gonna come back and look at this, how it changes. I mean, if you saw this thing in real life right now, it would be just blown away. Look at that. I mean, this is wood porn right here. Just look at that wood. Look at those beautiful flecks in the grain. The binding is absolutely perfectly sealed over it, which takes a lot of time to do. It's a total stunner. I'm really, really enjoying this more by the second. Nah, this is good stuff. Let's just look at that shot. I mean, and mind you, this is not a veneer, not a laminate. This is a real piece of wood that had to be sourced. So it's really growing on me with the top. I have to say, it's, and if you think it looks good in the video, trust me, it looks even better in person. Switchcraft's perfect. Oh, sorry, this isn't Switchcraft. This is Authentic 59. Gibson proprietary. Sorry, it's still early. I just had my second coffee. These feel good. Everything feels good. Of course, you have the pointers, which is period correct. Just the aging is great. Let's check the wiring real quick. I'm going to get a screwdriver and we'll open it up. All right, we got the screws out. I'm going to put the light a little bit over here. Now, for you who don't know, the plastics are actually recreated on a molecule level. And that's not a gimmick. That's actually pretty legit. Back in the day, many years ago, 7-8 years ago, Gibson had two versions of the 59. It had a kind of like a normal 59 interpretation and a true historic, which recreated that. And they realized, well, it's kind of stupid. People spending $5,000 and then $9,000. Let's give them something that's actually just simply period correct. And a lot of companies do that when they do reissue models, not just for instruments, for any other stuff. They are able to take a plastic from a certain year, they melt it, analyze it, and the machine tells you exactly what the composition was, and then you can recreate it. So these plastics, the pickup rings, everything you see is actually period correct for 1959, 58, 60, whatever model you're buying, including the nickel, but especially the plastics. And of course, that's really, really freaking cool. It's just scientifically speaking. Same with the screws, they're aged, which is really, really cool. So even if you try to, you know what, let me put it here. So if you look at that, that screw and every screw on the guitar is actually aged. So this isn't just random. All of this is period correct and recreated in that correct period. And that's what you're paying for, because you want to, you know, experience what it was like to play what Jimmy Page or Clapton or these guys that brought back the 59 were feeling. Of course, short of getting a real 59. And I can tell you, I'll be very honest with you, I've said this before, I've played several 59s, and including having brought my 59 over to my friends, and trust me, in a blind test, they were not able to tell which one was which. So this is really nice too, handcrafted in Nashville, and of course you can put the black thing on if you want. I took the screws off. We're going to take the badge off. There you go. Put that there. This is like a nice little kind of, yeah, metal steel. Not much to see here, just what you would expect, but this, of course, is the magic. Right there, you got your PIOs, paper and oil, your R9 designation. Just absolutely beautiful, beautiful routing, beautiful wiring, of course, hand-wired. This is what gives you the classic tone. If this was a Ferrari, this will be the engine. Well, I take that back. The pickups will be the engine, but this will be undoubtedly your cylinders, isn't it? So just, yeah, great stuff. And you can see just a reverse flame on the top too. That's sitting on top of the body. So just a spectacular piece of wood, you know. All right, let me put that back together and we'll check out the top of the guitar. And then wait for the Epiphone to arrive tomorrow. The Epiphone is running 24 hours behind the Gibson. But again, just beautiful. Just great stuff, man. I mean, God, it's so light. Just really, really, really cool stuff. As always, when you get these guitars, because they've been sitting for a moment, it's good to restring them, put some oil on the fretboard. I can already tell, you know, from travel, etc., etc. It's starting to look a little, it's no different than a plant, you know, give it some love. And I use F1 oil. You put that on and it just, mwah, you know. So after I'm done with this review, the first thing I'm going to do is probably restring it. These come standards with 10s. Here's the top of the, you can see just that great aging job that they did. No, listen, it, and I'm purposely not going to play, not going to plug it in. It's going to go back in the case until we get the Epiphone. And then we'll do the exact same thing with the Epiphone. We're just going to go from top to bottom and just see where it takes us, and really enjoy the process of unboxing these beautiful instruments. And then we'll actually plug them in. It's another great shot of the of the grains of the wood. So if you haven't held one of these or played one of these, go to a local, as much as I hate to say it, Guitar Center, even though I hate Guitar Center, and I mean hate as in hatred, but at least hold one, experience one. It's just, it's incredible. You know, it's just stunning craftsmanship. Even though, you know, I'm not a fan of the current leadership at Gibson, you know, I cannot deny the amazing talent that's in the custom shop. All right, this is going in the case. I will not tune it up. I will not play it. Like always in our videos, we're going to do this in real time. And in about 24 hours, we'll have the Epiphone arrive. I think it's tomorrow afternoon, and we'll do the exact same thing tomorrow, Saturday, and then Sunday we'll actually plug these things in, and then comes the big dog comparison. See you in a day. I did want to throw this in real quick because I'm editing while I'm waiting for the Epiphone to come tomorrow, and again, just because it's so hard to capture stuff on video, we're actually gonna, you know, double take it, as it's called, and look at that. Again, just wanted to point out just the stunningness of this wood piece. Just look at that. That is absolutely to die for. Here are these beautiful flecks that are just so incredible. And this is like the closest I can capture it, you know, a shot from a shot, because I can double zoom in. And this is just something that, well, for one, it's something that the video won't do justice, but I guess subconsciously what I'm trying to say is this, you're just not going to see that on a $2,700 Gibson. You know, it's just not going to happen, guys. So, of course, FedEx was delayed, and instead of it arriving Saturday, it arrived Monday now, but that's okay. We got all the Gibson stuff done, and here is this beautiful, beautiful beauty. I'm going to bring it inside and maybe wait a couple hours to unbox it, just because, yeah, not your typical Los Angeles weather. It was raining and cold. So here we go. And as you can see, we have the same beautiful double boxing. Of course, a proprietary case to go with the Epiphone. Epiphone for every stage. I love the logo. And the same kind of double boxing that the Gibson comes in. So very, very, very cool. Let's take it out of the main box. We are one step closer, and here it is, beautifully wrapped in plastic. A great case, man. These even have a stand on the back for protection. It's not a thing against the Gibson case, because the 59 Gibson case, of course, has to be period correct. But man, this thing looks good. Let's take it out of the plastic. All right, here we go. And by the way, remember, I'm keeping these boxes, if you have cats, and because that's the guitar I will be giving away. So if you're watching this, today is May 1st, 2023, and on May 7th, I will be doing a 2-week-long contest to promote my new music video. And in honor of that, I will be giving away this guitar. But let's start with the case, man. This case is awesome. I mean, dude, this case is no joke. Heck, wow, this is really good quality stuff, man. I mean, this is no lesser than any modern Gibson case that I've come across. So here we go. I love the kind of oxidized vintage latches and the style of keeping this authentic, kind of like, you know, that vintage vibe. And here we go. Oh, I forgot a latch. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Whoa, wow. Wow. You know what? I'm going to move on the other side of the light. Give me 1 second. Get on. Get on. Do it, kiss. Ooh, get on. Okay. Here we go again. All right. I just moved the light over a little bit. Wow. Of course, still has the plastic covers on. I will be removing those for the sound test, so whoever the lucky winner is, that is the one thing that I'm going to take off because that could potentially affect the tone a little bit. Now, I don't even need to take this out of the case to be able to tell this is a top quality guitar. I mean, let me move this a little bit. Chuck Cooter, get down. Get down, get down. You're going to be bumped up. You're going to be bumped up. Oh, goodness, down she goes. But, yeah, no, this is solid. So this is a veneer. This is a paper thin veneer that's laid over. So this is not, well, it technically is made out of wood, if you will, paper, but it is really kind of like a glued on hologram. Nevertheless, it looks absolutely spectacular. You know, for you to get a maple top of this kind of quality, you would have to pay, not just for the actual thickness of the wood, but the wood itself, you know. This feels top quality. The knobs, everything. And notice I'm instantly trying to find something wrong with it because, you know, this is not a made in USA guitar, but I can't. I mean, this looks, and these are real burst buckers. You don't have the binding over the frets, obviously. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is painted on. So this binding is painted on and not a real binding. Because, you know, on the actual binding, you can tell a little, on the Gibson, you can tell, you know, that it's not really flush because it's handmade. And so you have that beautiful human imperfection, if you will. But man, this is a stunner. Let me get back to the other side of the light and turn it over. Now, one thing that I've noticed right away, just so I mentioned this in real time, is I can tell right away that these frets are obviously not as rounded as they would be on a, call it more expensive guitar. And if I go like that and you press hard, it is really sharp. So I'm going to try to zoom in for you. They're really, really sharp. The fretwork looks amazing. I'm not sure if they plec these, but you can tell they're sharp. And as a matter of fact, you know, a few years ago, and it's on YouTube, I bought this Tribute, and I wanted to see if I can turn it into a full-fledged Les Paul, but it costing less than $2,500. And I brought this to my luthier, and he gave it, you know, Seth Meyer here, he's one of the best in the business, and he rounded them. And it's just, I mean, you can press, you don't even feel, you can press really hard. And then I, you know, put cream tone wiring in there and did the woman tone, etc. And now this thing, you know, screams. But when it came out, even though it being a USA guitar, it did have rough fret edges. The reason being for that is because to round them takes a lot of time and it's all handwork. So they probably, I can tell you right now, the fretwork looks incredible. The frets themselves look shiny, gorgeous, beautiful. Nothing's oxidized, but they are rough. So I would probably take this to a luthier if I were to keep this, and right off the bat put in $200 for him to truly round them and make them perfection, because these are a little rough. And especially on a guitar where you have real Gibson burst bucker pickups in it, you know. So that's just a little heads up, keep that in mind. But outside of that, it looks stunning. So now I'm going to take this beautiful guitar out real quick before I even turn it over. Just want to make sure. Oh man, this is really cool. Wow. This is Styrofoam underneath here, but again, it doesn't matter, man. This case is awesome. I mean, this is a top quality case. Let me tell you something. There is nothing that feels cheap about this case. What do we have here? Oh, cool. Packaging. I will not be opening this because whoever wins this guitar, I want them to have the kind of full experience, but it looks like you get a little COA, if you will, which is funny. I guess you write in the number yourself, but case is made in China, of course, because everything is coming from China, as we discovered. Also the Indian laurel that they use for the wood. So of course, and you know what else I'm going to do real quick? I will take these covers off right now so that we can sound test that. And again, real Gibson burst bucker pickups. I love the satin finish on this. This isn't quite a VOS, obviously, like on the you know, 59 over there, but it's really what it is. It's kind of like a satin, but man, this thing, there's your serial. Some lucky guy will own this guitar. Man, this thing feels good. I mean, I don't know what Epiphone, and again, I talked to the Epiphone guys at NAMM. I know they had a big overhaul. They had a big restructure of everything. Plastic is still on here too, which is nice. I'm gonna let the new owner of this take it off. Really cool, man. Limited edition. I mean, fucking hell, dude, for 990 bucks. I mean, this is, it feels also around 8 pounds. You know, listen, I am just blown away right now with the quality of this. I can't speak to how it plays. I haven't played it yet. I don't even want to strum a chord just yet. I'll do that when we get to it in real time. What I will do real quick, remember we talked about these capacitors. Let's open this real quick to see what we got there. And again, you have that handcrafted in China now. So, man, even the finish is just, yeah, man, wow. Okay, let's unscrew this thing real quick and see what we got. So here we have it, and this is a really cool little piece of, I don't know, this is steel, man. This is real good quality. We put it under the light here. And, okay, so you don't have PIOs here, you know, paper and oil bumblebees, but man, the wiring, man, looks good. Listen, it's hand wired. It doesn't have one of those, as I've seen in the past on the pictures, PC board with you know, just PC connectors. This is really cool, man. And they're, what are they? I can't even tell. Are they 500 watts? It looks like, yeah, 500s. Wow, this is impressive, man. Listen, this is really, really good stuff, man. Wow, this is just truly good stuff. Let's take it out of the case. Before we get over to the amp, I just wanted to give you another cool shot, because I'm just so impressed with how good this guitar looks. I mean, goodness. I mean, I played a bunch of, like, you know, PRSCs and, you know, the overseas stuff they make, and it's bolt on and stuff, and this doesn't even come close to the quality. You know, I'm experienced enough to kind of know off the bat, you know, if a guitar has a little bit of passion behind it. I mean, you can absolutely tell that Gibson is way more involved in this than other companies are in their lesser lines. This, what is it called? Laurel, you know, rosewood or whatever, Chinese rosewood. It doesn't even look bad. I mean, it looks really good, actually. And if you oil this a little bit, you know, it's just going to look fantastic. It definitely needs a little bit of oiling, as most guitars do, because remember, when they leave the factory, they go through a lot of rough weather, overseas, compression on the plane, and this isn't sealed like the body is usually on a guitar. So first thing I always do, and I suggest to people when you get the guitar, restring it, get to know it, and oil it up. And this wood looks fantastic. If you oil this is going to be great. Even the nut is flush. You know what? I'm going to give you something cool here. Check this out. Here's some porn for you. An Epiphone 59 next to a Gibson 59. Just really, really cool shot. Look at that. I mean, this is cool stuff. And again, you can just tell, obviously, how incredibly expensive it would be to get
you know, a real slab of wood that has this kind of pattern to it, versus a veneer, but nonetheless, it just screams quality on the Epiphone. And again, you can tell here, see the, we come on this side, the rolled binding. Right here, you see how the binding goes over the fret edge, as you can see right there. And here, the fret is over the binding. So to save a little bit of time and cost. Now these are obviously super rounded. I'm pressing really hard. And here I feel the sharpness. But again, I would literally get this to the luthier anyway. Because, you know, I'm a little bit OCD. I want him to kind of, I bring all my guitars to Seth and then he sets them up. I assume this has 10s on it. And I will probably, you know, that way you can restring it, dial it in, all the fretboards. Sometimes I like doing it myself too. Watch a good TV show and get it done. But just a great shot. And then why not, since we have him, turn him over and enjoy this beautiful sight. It's just a gorgeous sight, you know. And you can tell, you see the VOS finish on the Les Paul is kind of like an in-between, you know. It's in between gloss, like you would have on this, and satin. I mean, that's kind of really, and then this is really just a satin finish, you know, but a gorgeous one. I mean, again, I'm just absolutely blown away where Epiphone is right now. I haven't even plugged it in. You know, the funny thing is, of course, I know, having played Les Pauls for so long and then not playing them for years, et cetera, kind of always going back and forth, I know the Burstbucker very well. So I don't need to plug it in to tell you this is a great pickup. But how does it, you know, it's really at the end of the day, the playability of the guitar. You know, a great engine doesn't mean nothing if the car handles like shit, right? And the same true with a guitar. So, all right, let's see what this beauty can do. As always, I want to show you what we will be using for the sound test. It's annoying when people do a sound test, especially the stores, and don't tell you what they're using because, of course, they're doing a lot of post-production and shredding away. So you think the great playing is the guitar, but it really isn't. It's the player. We're going to keep it very simple. We're going to go to the Jubilee and we're going to warm it up. There you go. And I'm going to run that through the 1936 212. We're going to give these guitars a wonderful complementary, is that even a word? Complementary, whatever, foreigners. A beautiful mic'd pair of the all-time great duo, the Royer 121 and the 57, of course. And we're going to blend that in Pro Tools. 2 simple tracks. Oh, we do not need that. We're most definitely not going to use any plugins. And these tracks are going to be completely dry. I'm going to show you that. So there's nothing on there. There you go. And what we're going to do is I'm going to run this board through the Jubilee. Okay. Don't worry about settings. Listen, just know it's a Les Paul, Gibson, or Epiphone through a Jubilee. Okay. It doesn't matter what settings it is. Just know those are the sounds possible. And what we're going to do is turn everything off, but maybe a little delay and a little reverb on the clean channels. On distortion, we'll tone down the delay a little bit. We don't want to mask the sound too much. We're going to stay away from fanciness. We want to expose those pickups. I will not be turning on the compressor, so we're going to turn that off. So we get a pure sound, no EQ, that's off. And noise gate, we probably don't need anyway on the clean channels. So let's have some fun.
All right, we'll get started on the Gibson Les Paul. We're going to do some clean sounds, then some crunch, and maybe some high gain. You know, with high gain, it kind of masks the pickup a little bit too much. I'm going to try to give you something, maybe a little bit more complex chords, but the reason I choose that is because it's open voicings, and I really want to expose those pickups for you. And I don't want to go back to back instantly between the Gibson and the Epiphone. It's not fair. Why? They're 2 different guitars and 2 different pickups. Let's enjoy the Gibson, then let's enjoy the Les Paul. And Maybe even do a blind test. That'd be kind of cool, you know?
just wanted to give you my opinion on those clean tones. I'm editing them right now, and my goodness, I mean, some of these tones are to die for. You know what? They're to kill for. I wasn't even playing aggro. We weren't even adding, effects outside maybe of a little delay. But in Pro Tools, there's nothing. No EQ, nothing, no compression, no nada. And my God, what tones. I mean, just goes to show you when you have a good pickup and you put it to through a very good amp, it just makes all the difference. And I actually ended up playing about 50 minutes, almost an hour, and I'm just cutting it down to 10 minutes for you and doing purposely different, open voicings, little pickings, so you can kind of, hear the pickups from different angles, if you will. But I'll tell you, I mean, these clean tones, imagine how good it will sound once you actually put a little bit of masking on it, etc., etc. But holy shit, I mean, what a killer sounding axe. And you can even hear that crunchiness in the clean. I would love your feedback and opinions. Put some comments in there, but goodness gracious, I mean, it's just incredible. So I'm going to finish editing this, and then we're going to go into some, crunch and gain, do the same thing on the gain channel. And then today is the arrival of the Epiphone, so just in time.
started bouncing the crunch tracks, or gain crunch, whatever you want to call it. It's about as much as you get out of the Jubilee. But listen, if you don't think this sounds good, I can't help you. I mean, this is effing to die for. I mean, that is just wow, wow. And you know, the most amazing thing is, this was a really dry channel. You know, the Jubilee. You know, if you want a lead tone, this wouldn't be it. You would have to add a little bit more oomph to it. And for you guys who know what I'm talking about, you get it. And still, it sounded amazing. You know, if I were to plug this thing into the HJS, the Marshall HJS set, and go on the actual gain setting, this will be freaking lights out. And I'm not going to do that because, again, that masks the pickup way too much. You know, at that point, the amp kind of takes over. But the breakup on this Jubilee and this, I think I clocked in at 48 minutes that I now have to compress down to 10 minutes for you. But I mean, effing hell, man. I mean, just, I mean, if you want the definition of rock and roll, effing hell, man, this might have to be somewhere up there in the conversation. I mean, I honestly couldn't put it down. It sounded so good in this room. You know what? You don't even want to shred or play anything fast. You just want to get that crunch, you know, that you get from these unpotted custom buckers. And it's so, the cats are going crazy. It's so raw. It's so legit. It's so sincere. And it's just, I mean, this might only do one thing well, but the thing it does well is I mean, this is kind of like the Michael Jordan of guitars. There's Michael Jordan, then kind of everything and everybody else, you know. So, wow.
All right, small brother, here's your turn. Same exact thing, 10 minutes of clean and 10 minutes of gain. I am stoked to take you out. I'm literally going to tune it up and go right into it. ride while Pro Tools is dumping the file. I would love to hear some of your opinions. I thought some of the clean sounds were incredible. My thoughts, this is a burst bucker, and clearly it's a burst bucker. It's a very modern, very aggressive sound. It's a good pickup. I don't know if it's one of Gibson's greatest, but it's a really good pickup. And the fact that you get an actual USA burst bucker with this is incredible. I had quite a bit of not a hard time, but I had to work pretty hard to play the last 30 minutes. And you probably noticed the action is a little bit higher. I'm not going to set this guitar up because after this review, I'm going to clean it, put it back in its case, and then I'm going to give it away, you know, on as a gift to somebody. I'm doing a little contest to promote my music video, but and there's incredible buzz on the second and third. Now that's very simple to fix. Obviously, you know, set it up, and if you don't know how, get it to your luthier and have him set it up. And again, if you do that, I would change the strings anyway, put some oil, F1 oil on this fretboard, which is really going to make this sucker pop. I can tell it's aching for some oil. So if you listened to, I don't know if I have Tears in Heaven, I might keep it in there just on purpose so you can kind of hear. The moment I got on the bar chord here, I was really, really struggling. Again, very easy to fix. I don't expect this guitar to come set up like a $7,000 guitar, and it's traveling much further. It's coming from China. And again, this is not a ding against Epiphone, but I think the intonation was okay, and it stays in tune pretty amazing. I don't know if this is going to give you really anything close to a 59 sound. If you wanted that, you would have to change those pickups. You can probably sell these pickups for $150 and then get some, you know, Seymour Duncan pearly gates, or if you really want that 59 tone. What I can tell you is that the neck is very, maybe slightly thinner than a 59 neck would be. But again, it gives you a great vibe. It sounds really, really awesome. I know burst buckers well. I used to play them in the past. Well, not play them, review them in the Les Paul standards. You know, it was a different lineup than Gibson has now. The frets are very sharp. You definitely feel that right here. I can feel that, just, you know, you can tell. It is really, get this to a luthier, take $300 and just set it up to perfection, have him round the frets. But again, careful too, because we're going to talk about that in the end. If you're going to spend $300 on this and then make it a $1,300 guitar, wouldn't you be maybe considering a Les Paul traditional used? I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. But outside of that, I mean, some of the neck pickup tones I thought were to die for. I also think, and this is rare because usually on the higher end guitars you don't really feel the difference this in such a pronounced manner, I should say. But I do feel that it is not benefiting much from having weak capacitors. I think if you put orange caps in there, it'll really make those burst buckers scream. And again, they're not going to do that obviously to save some time and cost, because the wiring is actually pretty good. But I would maybe consider upgrading the caps too. But outside of that, if we're keeping in mind that this is a $999 guitar, well, $1,000 guitar, so far, I have to say it's very impressive. And the thing stays in tune. Let me tell you something. There's nothing that feels cheap on this guitar. This freaking thing rocks. All right, let's get to the distortion. right, so now we are rendering the dirty sounds, and I thought it was some really great stuff there. You can tell the burst bucker is a little bit more generic than, let's say, a 490, 98, a 57. But that's also what makes it so great. You can kind of do your own thing with it. I was on the Crunch channel, remember, on the Jubilee, which is off now and it's resting. But the, you know, I feel like this pickup is a pickup that wants a little bit more oomph. You know, it kind of, it doesn't function very good in the crunch area. It needs a little bit more gain, but in the gain area, it's really, really, really good. And I know that from experience. So, but again, some killer tones. And again, the fact that you're getting real burst buckers with this guitar is just absolutely amazing. I thought there was some really cool stuff. Again, I think this one is a little bit oversaturated, but the neck pickup has some killer tones, man. And I was finally getting the feel on it. Again, the action is a little bit too high for my taste. And down here, it needs a little bit of a setup. But I'm playing it right out of the box. And that was the idea, to do this in real time and see how it would flare compared, to something that costs 7 times more. But anyway, killer stuff. Let's get this into Final Cut. And then kind of going to rest on this for a moment and give you my opinion on both. Let's call it the conclusion. So I'm going to do this a little bit different than I usually do. At the end, I usually take both guitars on my lap and we kind of talk about it. But rather than looking at my strange face, let's look at these beauties, And you have, again, Toyota, Lexus, Maserati, Ferrari, Honda, Acura, however you want to look at it. And I just wiped this down for the new owner. Again, next week I'm gonna make a giveaway competition for somebody to get this guitar. And then here you have this. Oh man, I gotta smell this case. If you're a Gibson owner, you get it. Wow, look at that top. And let me tilt this a little bit so it doesn't take away from the light. And I do want to do this in real time. And there you go. We'll kind of do it like this. Look, I'll start with the Gibson custom shop. I'll make this very simple for you. If you want the 59 experience, if you're a fan of that era, that guitar, it's kind of like that Shelby, it's kind of like that Ford GTO. It's the Ferrari 250 GTO. It's not fair to say, well, you can get a great Les Paul for less. No, this isn't a Les Paul. This is a reissue of a very specific guitar, a very specific year, which has come to be, very important in music history and world history. And if you want that experience, this is going to be it. I mean, there's no other guitar or Epiphone or whatever that's going to touch that, and PRS people and Fender people can hate on it all they want. And I'll tell you, as somebody who's not even a fan of the company, well, let me rephrase that: a fan of current leadership, I should say, not fan of the company. But and this is the shit that the music stores won't tell you because they have to sell you stuff, So they're doing so much bullshit right now with this fake Slash, the fake Greenie, the all inspired bullshit. It has nothing to do with anything, And if you want something authentic, you got to spend $20,000. The whole fucking irony being that for $6,000, you actually have more of a Greenie than the $50,000 one. You know what I mean? So just get the F out of here, man. But you do not need to spend $7,000 on a Les Paul to have a great Les Paul. And I'll tell you why. Well, the reason is right there on the wall. Because you can genuinely have, for $3,000, you can go on Reverb and buy 1988, and this thing will smoke and destroy any custom 24 Fender modern PRS or Les Paul or Ibanez in its way. This thing is an absolute beast. And again, there's a reason why that's Slash's favorite. I mean, he has $100,000 guitars, but guess what? If I had an 88 or an 87, I should say, this is an 87, that's one serial next to the one he has, he would probably offer me stupid money for it. That's just a fact. For $3,000, you can get an incredible Les Paul. This thing, you can get even for less. You can go and buy a Les Paul traditional, which usually comes with, yeah, whatever they came with back days, some burst bucker kind of thing, and just put in some good pickups. And for $1,700, you're going to have a Les Paul that will just blow your freaking mind. But what you're paying for here is truly a one of a kind. And I tell you, now having 3-4 hours on this guitar, this is absolutely stupid. I mean, stupid good. The thing plays and feels like, I mean, when you hold this thing, you feel special. It makes you feel special. The sound, there's no video, no microphone that can capture the sound when you're compared to you being here with me in the room. This thing is absolutely balls out. I cannot put it down. I'm telling you, I cannot put this freaking thing down. It is stupid. Look at this wood. Look at this craftsmanship, the sound, the attention to detail. No two are alike. Handmade in the USA. Is it expensive? Sure. But guess what? So is a Rolex. And if you're one of those people that's just going to be like, well, I got to get cheaper. Well, okay, well, then I guess you're going to miss out on all the good things in life. You know what I mean? Go buy the cheap watch, go buy the cheap shoes, go buy the cheap car, go buy the cheap house, date the cheap, hooker instead of a real woman. And there you have it. And there's no discussion. But if you want something that you own, that you truly get, where you truly get what you pay for, this is it. Listen, these guys are on a whole different level now. I've owned many of these. I've played probably maybe 200 to 300, maybe if not more, custom shop Les Pauls dating all the way back to 2007. And I've owned many of these. And you can tell Tom Murphy took over. You can tell he's kind of now probably had a few meetings because he wants to look good. And there's been a lot of, hurrahs at the shop. And what these guys are putting out now is just ridiculous. It's so good. And again, you don't have to buy a new one either. If you're really stuck on having a 59 authentic, go and buy it used. You can probably get it, if you get lucky, maybe for even around $5,000, but these new things, and the recreating the plastics with the molecules and everything authentic, it's amazing. You know what I mean? So again, you don't need to spend $7,000 on a Les Paul. You need to spend $7,000 if you want the 59 experience. Otherwise, do yourself a favor and literally you can go on Reverb and buy an 87. Listen to me, buy an 87. You'll thank me later. And if you don't want to spend $3,000, then spend half of that. For $1,500, you can get a traditional that will destroy everything in its way. And if you want to spend something in between, like $5,000, get a Les Paul Custom, which I think is, the all-time beauty. You know what I mean? So that's that. All right, the Epiphone is, and you know what? I'll close this. We don't need that anymore. The Epiphone is absolutely insane, and you can see yes, the plastic here and on the back for the new owner. I'm going to give this guitar away. Actually, now I kind of regret doing this because I kind of almost would have kept it. But let me tell you something. This is insane. This is insane value for the money. This is insanity. This guitar is stunning. And I'm going to repeat myself. And again, the sound comparison isn't fair because the burst bucker isn't really going to give you a 59 tone, and you can't expect him to do that. So, and I try to purposely play the same licks over and over again, so you kind of get the idea of what the Epiphone sounds like versus the Gibson. But let me tell you something, man. This is stupid, awesome value for the money. The way this thing looks, the finish on this thing, the craftsmanship. The fact that it's coming from China, and you know what? I'm even more impressed because I remember years ago talking to the guy at NAMM who runs the Epiphone center down there, and he lives down there because he's in charge. And he told me we had to come together and have a come to Jesus moment because the competition was killing us. And the only choice we had was to just increase the quality to the point where they're so good for under $1,000. And yeah, you can get $700 Epiphones, but this is like the top of the line. This is the most expensive Epiphone you can get. Sorry, the most expensive Les Paul Epiphone you can get. And it is ridiculous. It needs a setup, and I'm not going to hold that against the guitar because, again, it traveled a long way. It's been through 50 different time zones and temperature changes. But if you set this thing up and you round the frets and you oil the fretboard a little bit, you got yourself a killer guitar. Now, there's nothing wrong with having burst buckers in there. Burst buckers are good pickups, but they're not great pickups. If you're gonna do all this stuff, I would say change the pickups too. The problem is this, and I'll tell you what the problem is. This is the problem right here. The problem is you're gonna spend $1,000 on this, and you absolutely, at the minimum, you have to do the fret rounding and dial this thing in a little bit. And there's no way you're going to be. Just trust me with this. These things are just too sharp. So you're going to spend probably $80 to $100 on a good setup with strings and neck adjustment, and probably $150, $200 on the fretwork. So you're looking at $300. The problem is this. The problem is this right here. And the problem is that you can go online and buy a good traditional. And you know what? Let's do this in real time. Here, we'll do this together. Let's do this together. This is rendering. So we're going to go to reverb, okay? And we're going to go right here. And we're going to type in Gibson Les Paul Traditional. One of the coolest badass guitars that Gibson doesn't make right now because they want to sell you this greenie and slash bullshit. And we're going to go to price low to high, okay? And we want the condition to be at least excellent. All right, so humor me. Okay, there you go. I'm going to keep this in frame. All right, and now we're going to click view all results. Okay, so let's see, $1,700. There you go. Okay, so for $1,800, this is a private sale. I bet you you can get this guitar for $1,500. So you see, and now you have a made in the USA. You got the plecked frets. You got American rosewood. You got the binding. The fret binding. You got the real binding. You got a real thick top, mahogany and maple with a real maple top. You got you know what? I don't even know what pickups these are on those. The pickups on this is what? Let's see here. The pickups is I think they had. Is it let's see here if it says real rosewood, cherry, traditional. It doesn't say. I don't know what the pickups were on this, but it could be 57 classics, I think. But doesn't matter. I mean, look at this fucking thing, man. You got yourself a real badass Gibson, made in the USA. This thing is built like. Come on, man. I mean, look at that. So let's say, you know what? I'll split the difference with you, $1,600, okay? And trust me, you can get them for cheaper. If you look locally, you can get that damn guitar for $1,500, okay? So you're gonna spend. I'm gonna put. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is a freaking tank. This is. You know what? And it plays like a freaking tank. I'm gonna hang this back up, okay? Excuse me while I just get out of frame for a second and put it right where it belongs, right behind the Les Paul Custom. So you're going to spend $1,000 on this, which is insane value for the money. But the problem is it needs work. That's just the reality of it. I don't care if you're a beginner or a pro. You cannot accept sharp frets like this. And so that's going to run you $200 and a setup $100. So you got to put $300 into this guitar. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. But now you're at $1,300. You're $300 away from this. Why not just wait? Or put the difference on a credit card, or buy it on a firm, or what do I know? But for $300 more, you get much, I don't know if it's fair to say a better guitar, and you might not care that it's made in the USA, I mean, who, you know, they're saying, listen, they make some sick shit overseas. I own a bunch of stuff that's made overseas, and this is just a third of the guitars I own. But the reality is you're gonna get more instrument. You're gonna get a thick maple top. You're gonna get better pickups. You're gonna get better wiring. You're gonna get better rosewood. You're gonna get a deeper tenon. You're gonna get better binding, and you're gonna get better frets, and you're gonna get a better playing instrument. And if you add all these little things up, remember, it's always the sum of the little things. You're going to have a better guitar, and this Les Paul Traditional is a better guitar. That's just the reality of it. And a lot of you Epiphone guys, I know, and I love you to death, and I really do, trust me. I mean, I run the group after all, but a lot of you are always like, oh man, this is better than a Gibson, or I don't need to spend Gibson money I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars and play just as good as a Gibson. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. And can you imagine if it did? Can you imagine if the Toyota outperformed the Lexus? What sense would that make? Lexus will go out of business. Can you imagine if the Acura performed lesser and had lesser materials than the Honda? Can you imagine if the Maserati all of a sudden reviews will come in that the Maserati is better than the Ferrari? Do you know what that would do to the value of the Ferrari? No, it's not better than the Gibson. It ain't. And it doesn't have to be. And it's not saying that it does. And it's not trying to be. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, here on video, there is no $990 guitar that I know that is better out of the box than this made in China Epiphone. I'm telling you right now, I was legitimately blown away. And I had a hard time playing it. The action's too high. The frets are sharp. It's not set up. And again, I'm not going to hold that against the guitar. I tuned it up and I made it sound as decent as I can. I didn't play no complicated shred stuff that I could have, like, just to impress you on that. I just tried to let the guitar be the star. And there is no better guitar that I know of for $1,000 than this Epiphone. But if you truly want to give it the full potential, you're going to have to put some money into it. And at that point, you're going to be within $200 to $300 of a freaking Gibson Les Paul Traditional. So just give that some thought. I would love your feedback on it. I thank you for watching. I'm actually going to leave you with my last music video, or one of them, to do a little promotion. And then in a week from now, again, today is May 1st, on May 8th, 2023, going to the Gibson, the Epiphone Les Paul Owners group on Facebook. I run this group because I'm going to post. I'm going to come up with something cool to promote my video for somebody to win this guitar. Free of charge. I will pay shipping anywhere in the world. And except for, sadly, Mexico, because I tried to ship a guitar there once and it was a disaster. So, but anyway, killer guitar. Incredible guitar. The value to what you get, the bang for the buck, is absolutely insane. So this thing is going to go back to sleep, and this is going back in its box. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to your comments, and I'm stoked to read some of the stuff that you guys have to say. And stay well. Love you all.
People you love never die.
Well, I loved my aunt, but she died. And my Uncle Lou, then he died. I'm searching